The intention was for all 27 specs to be wanted and viable in all areas of the game. This is by Kevin Jordan, one of the 3 original game designers on Vanilla WoW. In reality, you never come close to that, but that was always the intent. So we never designed the spec to just be for PvP, or just be for leveling, or just for raiding, or anything like that. We always push towards making, everything usable, desirable, everywhere. And this is the guy that created all the 9 original classes, the spells and abilities, and the talent system. And one of the biggest things about Vanilla WoW was the fact that they ran out of time, right? They've spent 20 years finishing off the original ideas and plans and intentions from Vanilla. They're still using Vanilla content in retail WoW to this day. And just based off of that, I really want to discuss what Classic Plus will end up looking like, especially as we're entering this modern era, this modern idealization of what Classic World of Warcraft truly is and what Classic World of Warcraft is going to look like in the future of Classic Plus. For example, Shadow Priest. It's a very flawed class. It's what we would consider a support class, right? Support for Warlock, support for Mages, support for like Mana Battery, a Shadow Priest was a support class. Now in the original Vanilla, the original game design, they had the intention of there being 4 types of classes: Tank, Healer, DPS, and Support. And Support fell right off. Nobody resonated with it. It didn't click. And Support was an abandoned idealization of what it meant to be for Vanilla World of Warcraft. So they stuck to the 3 specs going forward: Tank, Healer, DPS. So you could have a support healer, you could have a support DPS, you could have support tanks, but it was meant to be a spec that was brought in as support, not as a main DPS, a main healer, a main tank. And it just didn't land whatsoever. So for example, you have your Red Paladins, your Holy Pallies. Well, Holy Pallies are amazing. The Holy Pallies is not a good example. But let's see, Demonology Warlocks, let's see, Boomkin. This guy even covers it here. They had a 4th role for support in mind until the Zeitgeist determined you're going to tank, DPS, or heal. Like in retail, I'm pretty sure Holy Paladins heal by doing damage now, which is close to what they imagined, I think. Obviously, it didn't really pan out though, which is why Shamans, Druids, and Paladins are in these weird nebulous places. Melee Warlock was something they wanted but never happened. Tank Healer was something they planned as well. There were so many specs they planned. This is not going to be like a full deep dive on every unfinished class and every unfinished idealization. Because there's so many unfinished concepts, right? Enhancement Shaman, 2-handed Enhancement, dual wielding Enhancement Shaman, Shaman with tank and shield, so you could tank. Tanking Shaman was a thing that was meant to be designed in Vanilla. Warlock Tank was a thing in Vanilla. There were so many specs that just never came to fruition. So on the topic of this guy's post by Sidewalker Jr., would it be okay if Classic Plus adopted Kevin's philosophy when redesigning old or new classes and specs? Or do you wish for them to keep their flawed but flavorful characteristics? And in my personal opinion, it really does come down to how far they go, right? Because in Season of Discovery, they went so far that it was a far cry from Vanilla's game design. Very, very fun, but a far cry from Vanilla's game design. It wasn't as far off as retail, and retail's game design is very fun for being retail, right? I enjoy retail, I enjoy playing retail, I enjoy watching retail. It's a good experience, but it's not Vanilla, it's not Classic. Like, I would never want that for Classic WoW. I would never want that to be Classic. But we can't deny that retail WoW is the vastly more popular game, and retail WoW is the one that's paying the bills. Retail WoW is the one that's funding things. There's going to be inspirations from every expansion, from Vanilla all the way up to the current expansion, Midnight WoW, because they're going to be taking inspiration, tools, assets from the future and reverse engineering that into, Classic Plus, Project Camelot, whatever the name is. And in my personal opinion, I think it comes down to what will the zeitgeist, it's a nice word, I like that, accept in terms of class identity, abilities, spells, and talent systems. How are they going to rework it? Are they going to do just TBC baseline and a few tweaks to make it slightly different from TBC and more vanilla? Or are they going to go as far as Wrath or Cataclysm with some of the changes to spells and playstyle? There are so many different things, and if you ask different players, their favorite spec for their favorite version of their spec or class comes from different expansions. Certain people love Mob's class design. Certain people love the WoD's class design. Certain people love TBC or Vanilla's class design. There's a huge output of people that love the Legion's class design. So with how many different players have different favorites for their class or their spec, where are they going to be stealing or copying or repeating either mistakes or pro things that people truly wanted and truly enjoyed? And with Kevin Jordan talking about all 27 specs to be wanted and viable, something has to give. Either PvP is going to be shit or PvE will be shit to a design. You can't have a class that works perfectly in every element and have it be a balanced class. When Boomkin was too strong in PvE, it was too strong in PvP. When you nerfed it in PvP, you ended up nerfing it in PvE. Because in Classic WoW, you don't have separate PvP and PvE specs, builds, and designs. For the most part, what works in PvE works in PvP, and what works in PvP works in PvE. Short of rogue, stealth spec, whatever the fuck, assassination and all that stuff, versus like raiding versus PvP is different. But for a lot of classes in SOD, a PvP spec was viable in PvE. It wasn't as good as the PvE spec, but it was viable. So having very strong class design for everything, having very strong class design for every spec and every class and every identity will come to the conclusion of pissing people off. This comment here by Seffel: keep in mind what they consider viable and what the community considers viable are often extremely different. And this is true. People always say, what the fuck were the devs thinking? What the fuck are the devs saying? Are they just pulling shit out their ass? This is dog shit, this is terrible, I hate this, this is not good, this is really shitty design. Because what the dev considers optimal and what the community considers optimal are two completely separate things. They don't mesh and become four. They stay two separates. They don't combine, because the community's point of view and the dev's point of view are two separate point of views. So for me personally, I'm truly very excited to see what Project Camelot does in terms of game design and philosophy, because let's keep it very real. Half the player base is going to be mad. What if two-hand enhancement is dog shit? What if they don't even add it to the game? What if Tank Shaman doesn't come back? What if only Warlock Tank comes back? What if they add brand new specs like Warrior Healer with battle shouts and flags, kind of like a totem-esque design? What if they do some completely unique things that retail doesn't have at all, and it's only unique to Project Camelot? There's so many things that are going to happen, and right off the very rip, I can tell every single person here that a huge portion of the player base is going to be mildly to moderately unhappy, and a very small portion is going to be furious. They are going to hate Project Camelot. They are going to absolutely despise it because it doesn't play the way they want it to. But no matter what, all 27 specs need to be wanted and viable in all areas of the game. They don't have to be perfect in all areas, but they need to be playable and viable in every single area. So on that front, good luck to the Classic devs for Project Camelot and Classic Plus. You don't have an easy task ahead of you. You genuinely don't.